What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and most of all Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And this is Motivation Monday. Let's get fired up and let's get right into it. On a side note, it drives me nuts when podcasts have 5, 6, 7-minute intros talking about everything they're going to talk about. It drives me a little bit nuts. I like to do a little refresh, but just want to say if you appreciate what we do here, a review always goes a long way. Sharing this with your friends or messaging us on Instagram knowing you like it really does mean a lot. But we're going to jump into our primary question for today, which is I am looking to get in shape for a wedding fast. I have this wedding coming up in essentially just under 10 weeks, and I'm looking to lose some fat and be at my best self for this wedding, as I will be seeing a lot of people I know. And I really like this question because there's two sides to it. There's getting in shape for a wedding as someone who's actively in the wedding, obviously a bridesmaid, a groomsman, a parent, whatever it may be, or even being the bride or groom themselves, or even just being someone who's attending it. Seeing all these people we weren't really given much context here, but I think this is a phenomenal question because all too often this date will approach and you'll see people do these crazy crash diets. Everyone's trying to get ready, get prepared for this wedding. And I'm really curious to see what Kyle has to say for this question. I got him just when he was about to take a sip of his coffee.
I will still be fired up. I was just about to take a sip, but we're here. And I love this question because honestly, I really enjoy getting people ready for a special event. And here's where it gets tough because you will always hear me talking about sustainability, a long-term approach, all that great stuff. I'm such a fan of it because I do believe fitness is an amazing long-term lifestyle change. However, when someone has a short-term event, it is so much easier to get locked in and just dial in. And I feel like a lot of times when I'm talking to people about their goals and whatnot, I do have to often kind of really push them to tell me what it is that they want and kind of break it down into a smaller goal that's closer to them, right? Or a bigger goal that's closer in terms of just a time frame. So with that being said, a wedding, amazing time. I'm actually helping a few of my clients actively. I'm specifically thinking of one of my old hockey buddies, and he's been crushing it. He's a couple pounds in. He actually texted me. I'll post it on, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll post this screenshot here. He said, "Is it normal to be losing weight this quickly?" And I'm like, absolutely. And he's just been locked in, and it's just so amazing because the wedding's coming up and he wants to feel his best. And it's a special day, no matter who you are and no matter what, part of the wedding you are in. So anyways, long story short is I really encourage you to go all in, to be fully invested, because this time will come a lot quicker than you think. And I'm sure some of you may be feeling that, whatever it is that you are looking to get ready for. And once again, I want to stress that this isn't just for a wedding, but this could also be for a vacation. This could be for something that is in a time frame of the 8 to 16 week category. It could be a photo shoot. It could be a reunion. Like, we get a lot of people saying, "Hey, I've got a reunion from high school for 10 years and I wanted to look my best." So all of these principles will apply. So simply put, set a goal, set a deadline. This will make such a big difference because I find that it helps you reverse engineer what you need to accomplish. So even myself, if let's say I have some sort of test, for example, I set my DEXA scan for 10 weeks from now, I know where I need to go. Let's say lose 20 pounds. It can allow me to figure out how much to lose per week. And then from there, I can just figure out how much I need to lose per day, although that doesn't really matter as much. But it helps me essentially establish my calories and how much I should be consuming. So when you have this goal, you can kind of work backwards as to what you need to be doing. And that brings me to my next point, is just simply going all in with tracking your calories and really, really spending time doing that. Because so many people, will overlook this because they say, "Oh, I've cut out some sugar, I've cut out some, foods that I used to have, and I started moving more," which is great. And we're going to talk about calories in versus calories out after, but that's not going to be what's going to solve the problem for you. And I find that when you can keep track of your calories and really just go all in on that, it allows you to make changes necessary as your body adapts. So even using my client Alex as an example, we're keeping track of it. He's set on right now 2,300 calories. He's feeling good. He's feeling full. He's losing weight really quickly, but there will be a point, and I even warned him in my last check-in, that we will need to make changes based off of how his body adapts. And if we didn't have this data as how much protein he's having, how much fiber, how many calories, I wouldn't be able to make that change. I would just be able to, maybe say, "Hey, eat a bit less." But it's hard to really quantify and really see that change because there's not much data from that. And I'm really passionate about this, if you can't tell, because we've had so many people. And this especially, my last tip before I hand it back off to Josh, is having an exit strategy past your wedding and your honeymoon. So I find it's so easy to lose, well, not so easy, but it is common to lose, let's say 10, 20, 30 pounds getting ready for this special day. But because you've been in starvation mode, essentially you've just really started eating less, burning more, like the deadline's approaching quicker. You just start to sometimes even do drastic measures, which once again can be an okay strategy, knowing that this is the special day and you're willing to do that. However, after the wedding, after the honeymoon, like you need to have an exit strategy. You need to have a person by your side, give you an approach to help you reverse diet, to help you really just replenish and not just gain all that weight back and say, hey, yes, I'm a married person and I'm happy and it was a great time. But then you gain all this weight back and you're not feeling your best. So that's something we specialize in. Reach out to us. We're always happy to help. And that's my ramble on getting wedding ready.
So Kyle crushed it there. I don't have a ton to add, but one thing I'll say too is to really be aware of your time frames. The longer you have, the better and a more sustainable transformation you can create. If you just really go hard for this day and you're crash dieting, you're starving yourself, you're training excessively, like as soon as that day comes, you're probably gonna overdo it and start a spiral, and you're gonna be like, I passed this day, you're gonna be relieved. And all that hard work can go to waste. But instead, going about it the right way, like Kyle said, like when we work one-on-one, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, we can absolutely help you lose 20 pounds, gain 10 pounds of new muscle, and radically change your composition. Whereas if you're just starving yourself, you're not going to look great. You're going to be sucked dry, devoid of energy, and you're not going to have that effect you want, especially when you're at this wedding and you're socializing and you're doing things. But I do think it's really good to utilize these big dates as extra motivation and to keep them in the back of your head. We even have a DEXA scan booked for ourselves. That's good motivation for us in different events and weddings. It's always nice to know we have these coming up. And me and Kyle have said it before and we'll say it again. It's sad to see the active bride and groom oftentimes investing in everything but their personal health. So shout out to Alex for taking the step with that. I know it can be uncomfortable because you're like, I've spent so much money, I don't want to spend on this. But feeling your best, looking your best, actively investing in your transformation will always pay off. And when you look past that event, you learn those habits too, and having that accountability during a busy and stressful and strenuous time is absolutely fantastic. So once again, Kyle popped off everything he said. If you listen to it, you'll see the transformations, you'll see the results, but it's really important you take it in and you take it at face value. Anything you want to add?
No, I'm super pumped up for this episode.
Awesome. Now we're going to jump right into our quotes as we like to do. And I'm going to start with my quote because I feel really passionate about it. And it is, the first minute of action is worth more than a year of planning. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you'll definitely know, as me and Kyle have said, that we took a while to start a podcast. We thought, we should try it, this and that. We're like, hey, once we have the perfect studio, once we have the perfect mics, once we learn how it all works, we're overthinking a lot of it. But imperfect action will just beat perfection every time because it's so hard to really just get perfect. Like, even with swimming, I remember I used to be a swim instructor. People would watch all these videos and have these thoughts. I'm like, have you ever just jumped in a pool and played around and tried different things? Like, no. I'm like, okay, well, that's the starting point to actually seeing that. That's not going to teach you to swim, and you do need to actually learn what to do and do it safely and intelligently. But you can theorize and research and plan and prepare, and you can also have that action of thinking about it or planning to do it. That can actually be a form of procrastination. And if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to sign up for this gym, I need the perfect program, I need the perfect nutrition, you're just going to get smoked by someone who just gets out there, they get in the gym, they do an imperfect workout, they get one done, they try to eat a little bit healthier, and they slowly improve. So don't overthink too much. Sometimes just getting started on it and then aiming to get better with it as you go, that's one of the best things you can do. And even with us, every time we haven't done that, it's came back to bite us, and we're definitely thankful with where we are now. So that is my quote for this week.
I love that because it really makes me think of, years ago I joined a training by this one guy. We got to meet him, Ty Lopez, and I remember this, he was the guy who was all over the YouTube videos, here in my garage with my Lamborghini. And we actually, we met him last year. He's a cool guy, regardless. But I just remember in that training video, he wrote down KSE. K stood for knowledge, S stood for strategy, and then E stood for execution. And he was saying how most of the people will get to that second part where they plan things out. So they have the knowledge, right? You do your research, you look at things, you figure out, oh, I should try keto. Maybe I think I should do this. Or Kyle and Josh talk about flexible dieting. You develop the strategy, right? Because it sounds fun to sit there and like put everything together. Like, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to grocery shop. So you've spent a lot of mental energy putting it together, and it makes you feel like you've started to take action because you've spent time doing it. And then execution, which is very often the most missed out part and also the hardest thing to do, because you actually have to put one foot in front of the other. You actually have to go to the gym. You have to really fully meal prep and like commit to it. And this is where it's like, I just see so many talkers, and it's one of those things that it's kind of driven me nuts over the years, especially seeing how much potential every single person has. Like, even talking to someone who says, hey, like, I think I'm going to start this journey. And it's like, if you just committed and just started this journey, like, you'd be way ahead. And I really don't love seeing how many people just aren't feeling their best because they haven't taken that next step, because they haven't started to execute. So yeah, just something to think about. Don't be a talker. If it's you, doesn't make you a bad person. It's never too late to get started, to start fulfilling on your actions, what you need to do, what you say you're going to do, and just going all in. So great quote. And I'm going to jump into mine here, which is, it doesn't matter where you are in life. The great thing about life is always your next move that counts. So as always, from a motivational video, just one of those things where I think Josh actually sent it to me, and I had to rewind it a few times, and I'm like, okay, I really, really like what was said here. And I feel like a lot of my quotes lately have been about like lessons learned and not focusing as much on the past and focusing on the present and what's in front of us. And I think it's just because that's something I believe in like so much, to, wholeheartedly. Is just like, it really doesn't matter. Like, whatever your upbringing was, how many times you failed on your fitness journey, starting a business, with relationships or whatever it is, like, those are just lessons learned. And I want to repeat this over and over again, especially because I see so many people get down on themselves if they fail, get down on themselves because of the position they're in, where they're at, maybe the mistakes they've made. And it's just really not worth beating yourself up on. And if you do, like, it's just always going to hold you back. Like, this next move that you take, like those next steps forward, that's what's really going to make the biggest difference. And if you don't allow yourself to take those steps, you're never going to get there, and you're never going to succeed. So that is my quote for this week.
Yeah, I actually had a thought that really just goes on to this perfectly. And that is, the important thing isn't to achieve all your dreams, but to keep dreaming. Your desires change as you learn and grow. Old dreams will spawn new dreams, and eventually one of these newer, more refined visions will find their moment and become reality. And it's just so easy to expect life to play out exactly how we want it to have this really linear progression attitude of, once I achieve this and this. But the main thing is that you just keep dreaming, and you'll adjust these dreams. And even, I think it's okay to say, I have a different dream now, or this was my goal at the time, and it helped me push forward and it helped me improve. And it was just something I kind of had on the top of my mind. So it really is a thing to consider, because that next move, getting started, dreaming, like just really understanding the direction you want to be and where you want to go, like these are all big considerations to have. And another fun thought I had for this week is, me and Kyle know the pickleball guy from our gym, and he always says to me and Kyle all the time, where you guys been? You haven't been in the courts. And then me and Kyle will always joke. We'd be like, oh, we've been slacking, man. We got to get back to it. And it was funny though, because it really made me think. I'm like, I don't really care enough to actually get out there. Like, that's just the matter of fact. Like, it's not as if I've been slacking. It's just that I haven't been pulled enough to want to play pickleball. And it might sound like this is a crazy talk, but you got to ask yourself too, if you haven't been in the gym, like, have you actually wanted it enough? And you got to ask yourself if you're willing to want the actions you need to do enough to see results. And it's not sexy, but if you want a really great physique and a great body, you got to be in the gym. You got to do the hard thing. You got to perhaps overcome that fear of just doing group classes or Orange Theory, and learn to lift, to not only run, but work on composition. And maybe your composition's great, but you're holding more body fat than you should. Then you need to do that same thing. You need to want it enough to say no to some foods, to start prepping, to eating protein. And I just really think it's good to ask yourself, like, what am I not wanting bad enough, right? And like, be honest if what you say matches. Because if I always say, oh, I want to play pickleball, and then I'm joking about it, it's pretty interesting when you're honest with yourself about what you really want. And this also just made me think too, like about calling myself out. Like, what are you missing that's holding you back from seeing success? So for instance, we had our second baby. He's 2 months now. Now is a time where my wife's able to get back transition to the gym. She hates working out at home, but I'm like, listen, it's one of those things you got to do this meantime. And then also too, though, I realized I'm like, wow, like Tuesday and Fridays are lighter work days for me. I can sit in the cafe part of the gym, baby wear the baby, so she can get a better, more quality workout, and I can support her journey that way. And it took a little bit of creative thinking, but I'm like, this is something I'm missing that is allowing, that could help her have more success. And just the same with your own journey. What are you missing where you could be seeing more results? Are you not meal prepping on Sundays? Are you not getting up on time so you're missing your workouts? Are you leaving your workouts till night instead of the day? Are you not lifting heavy enough? How can you get in front of that? Maybe training with someone, forcing yourself to be on percentage-based training, having a coach. But like, if you actually look at why you're not seeing the results you want and you say, okay, like, what is the reason for that? And like, how can I get creative solutions? And it's just so easy to be a victim of circumstance. And I even said to her, it's easy to wait because you can put them in that little daycare at 3 months, but then something pops up and then that becomes 4 months. And you think, okay, once they're a year, I'll get back in the gym and I'll get back to my flow. And then all of a sudden you're in the terrible twos or something else happens. So I think it's really important to say, what are the barriers in front of me now? How can I succeed with them? How can I get it done? And just being really honest with that. And even for having a really fit pregnancy, like going back, it's been fantastic. She's only a couple pounds up from her starting weight 2 months following. Obviously, when you get back to the composition work, re-strengthening, all that good stuff. But a lot of that came as part of, it was like, hey, the only time you can work out is at 4:30, which means we're going to have to get to bed early. I'm going to have to be involved. I'm going to have to help. And just something you're going to have to do. And by doing that consistently, even though every day is one of those things where it's like, I don't want to do it, but she just said, this is something I do. I get this done and I can zoom out and see at the end of my goal setting, I'm going to be at a great place because of this. And now you're reaping the rewards. So I just think for all of us in very different periods and areas of our journeys, there's always something there. But if you really look at like what you need to do and how you can actually get yourself to see it through, you'll be amazed at what you'll be able to achieve.
Honestly, very well said. And even just on that topic, and I know a lot of you are still doing absolutely fantastic. And like, I just wanted to remind you, no matter where you are at on your journey, even if you're someone who says, hey, I listen to this podcast, and I'm there at the gym, 5 days a week, 4:30, everything's great. And, it's very easy to get comfortable, but like the ability to be able to call yourself out, even if you're like on a good trajectory, like this is speaking to anybody, like no matter who you are, whether you work out, you're brand new and you're just coming across this podcast, or you've been listening for years and you're, at that 5 time per week mark and you just never miss a workout and you're super consistent. Like I find sometimes that's even the territory where it's easy to get even more complacent because you're like, oh, I've been doing this for a while. And no matter what, even like for us, it's been well over 10 years, like I think closer to the 14-year mark of just lifting weights, even thinking back to high school. Like it's been an amazing journey. And you just really never get to a point where it's just you feel like everything is perfect. Even myself, I'm still learning like where can I improve as I'm getting a little older too. I'm like navigating different things and just different areas of life and whatnot, and just a bunch of things being added on to it, which is awesome and exciting. But just the ability to be able to say, hey, Kyle, you're slacking in this department, like you got to step it up. And just having that openness and discussion with yourself, whether it's just like thinking or journaling or sharing it with others so they can reflect and give you tips. If I have to talk to Josh and be like, hey man, like I got to step it up here, and like we can work through some things for the fitness journey. But, once again, just want to share that no matter where you are at in life, and especially on your journey, like we can always do better. And it's about finding different ways to keep improving there. So one thing I wanted to share here just on the top of my head was just, a lot of times we start different things and we stop it, right? And I know it sounds like a little obvious here, but I was listening to something this morning on my drive, and he had said the more times you stop things and never finish them, the more incomplete neural pathways you create in your brain. And I thought that was pretty powerful because I feel like a lot of times, and here's where I want to really also put like a little asterisk, is like I totally get there's a time and a place to stop something, right? You pick up a book and it is just the worst book ever and you just do not like it. Like I am totally fine to just either return that book or just set it aside or whatever it is. Like I get it, but I think a lot of times we are so used to starting things and like we just say we're going to do things, and a lot of times we lose trust in ourselves. And even if we're trying our absolute best, oftentimes our brain starts to think when Kyle tries something, either like now I'm at the point where when Kyle says he's going to do something, or when Kyle tries something, he's going to go fully through. And like I start to believe myself. There's different things happening in my brain. And I think a lot of time, and I had to train myself to get that way, right? It's taken many years and it's still, of course, not perfect, right? But very often, and this may be calling you out if you're someone who picks up a book and you've picked up 42 books this year, but you haven't completed one. And I'm just using the book as an example because it's an easy one to kind of reference, but it could be a cut, a shred on your journey. How many times have you started a shred on your journey and said you're going to fulfill it and not gone through with it? It could be just, saying you're going to meal prep. How many times have you set out on a Sunday, you got your groceries, and this is the reason why you may be struggling, is because you keep not fulfilling what you say you're going to do. And even he had said, you start to develop new habits in starting things and not finishing. So it's not rocket science. It's just you say you're going to do something, you don't end up doing it, you end up quitting, and then that's what you know. And then every single time you go to do it, that's what happens. So just once again, on the topic of calling yourself out, think about these things. You may not even realize it's what you do. I had to think of different things where I had done that as well. Like, it could be cleaning, right? You start to clean, you say, hey, I'm going to do it, and you don't end up doing it. So this could relate to a million different things, but the more that you follow through with what you say you're going to do, it will hardwire your brain in so many amazing ways. And that's my main ramble for today.
I think that's really well said. And let's hear about our client shout out this week.
So I was going through my camera roll, just popped up. It was like maybe 10 years ago, a photo of me. And I just wanted to share like my progress and kind of give some tips as well as to what's helped me over, I'd say a 10-year transformation. And I didn't want it to just be physical, but also mental, emotional, and a physical transformation all in one. And, recently I was talking about not just rewarding yourself, but like giving yourself credit where credit's due. And I really think that like it is important to just appreciate how far you've come. So when I came across this photo, I just got really thinking about just back in the day when things were a little different. Definitely had a lot of fun, back partying and doing all that stuff back, just after high school and whatnot. And, just looking back at that photo, and you'll see there's a couple of them, they are a little vulnerable where it's like, I probably have never shared them before, and I'm definitely not looking like I'm in the greatest state. But I just wanted to say like I'm just so grateful how things have changed, how, the life that I've been able to create, Josh and I starting this business, being able to help so many people. Like when I get to go to the gym, I'm thinking like, I'm so grateful. Like I'm literally here doing my job, helping people transform. And, a lot of things have transformed for me, like once again, not only physically, but like the mental transformation, the emotional, like just where I'm at, just my overall knowledge, and just so many amazing different things. And yeah, I mean, the gym is an incredible space, and even just like, it's amazing what you can accomplish when you just go all in. And even, yeah, I just wanted to showcase this because I'm sure a lot of you may not even realize how far you've actually come, especially when you go further back into like, the 10-year mark, right? Because a lot of times we're focused on what we've accomplished in the last year and the last 6 months. And, sometimes we don't actually realize, but when we sit down with those older photos and not only look at the way our bodies have changed, but like how we've grown up and improved as a person. And that's why I want to give a lot of tips on this that you'll see on the Instagram post with just like some mental transformations and some things that I wanted to highlight there to hopefully inspire you as well if you maybe are struggling on your journey or you're just not in the greatest space, because I definitely wasn't years and years ago. Like I would always work out, I thought I was a fit, healthy, and happy person. And I definitely had a decent physique, especially as a younger dude. But now I'm just at a point where it's like just every single aspect I'm like feeling really, really excited about, especially once again, the mental and emotional transformation that you may not be able to see in the photos, or maybe you will be able to. But I guess a shout out to myself. I've come a long way and I feel like I'm just getting started.
Yeah, I'll back that up to Kyle. That's a big change in his life. And even for him, like it's hard going against the grain of what's comfortable, what's normal to you. And he's probably like, I'm getting away with this. Why level up my life? Why change this? And I think as you make positive changes, you see how you feel physically, mentally, and you kind of realize, wow, I can grow into the person I want to become. And it's real easy to believe yourself to be a certain way or towards certain limitations. And as you break through them, it really is freeing. So I think these are some really powerful thoughts. And look where Kyle is now. And I mean, when you see these photos, it'll be some good motivation for you. you. And ask yourself, why not you? Even going back to the holes in your game, having a coach will fix about all these holes. And what's even better is having someone who isn't emotionally invested to really help guide you to the right decisions. It's hard to call ourselves out. It's hard to be honest and let go of some of the things we love. And having a coach on your side to do that and do that in a loving way where it's going to help you see results faster is so freeing. So do not miss out on this. And if you're ready for the challenge and you want to be our next transformation, DM us challenge on Instagram to take part. And in 90 days, we will transform your life. But now into our second question, we have the question of, I'm not seeing the results I should from my program. Why is that? I know you say you love programming, and I'm curious what's holding me back. I do 5 times a week PPL. So all the time people ask me, what's the best program? And the truth is there is no best program, but there is a best program for you. And that will start by taking into account where you are in your journey. And that's why whenever I have a client come in, I get their physique photos to start, and I'll look for their strengths, I'll look for their weaknesses, and I'll also keep in mind their goals, because who am I to say that if you want to have the world's most massive traps and you want to look like a villain and you don't want to train legs ever, obviously I'd recommend training your body evenly, but if you want to do that, that could be done, and you can kind of build the body and look you want, and you should be programming around that. And that's where you'll mess up. If you do my routine, it's going to have emphasis on my weak spots. It's going to neglect some of my strengths because I'm not going to overbuild them. And that's where you following my routine won't necessarily work for you. Even though I have a phenomenal routine, it's not just like something you can copy and paste. It'd still be a phenomenal workout, but you're better off doing what you can. And just the same, you'll probably be like at a different level than me in your journey. Whether you're more advanced or less advanced will depend. But just jumping into my level of volume, my intensity isn't realistic. And it's better you start from the position where we use the term MED, minimal effective dose, where you can lift at a reasonable amount of time and volume, see results. Because you don't need to be in there for over an hour if you're brand new to the gym. That isn't what we need to do. We need to build that base, get that advantage, and then progressively add more volume and intensity as you advance as a lifter. If you just go 0 to 100, there isn't much wiggle room, and you're kind of stuck up at that level, and you're missing that general progression of increase in weight. The other thing about a good routine is it's not just going to be the things you want to do. Obviously, that should be encompassed. But if you're on a routine and you've made it for yourself and you've cut out all the hard bits, you never do barbell squats, you never do deadlifts, you never do heavy lunges, you skip split squats, but there's lots of arms in there, lots of shoulders, lots of adductor supersets with scrolling Instagram. If you're really going that route, you are really shortchanging yourself. And that's where doing a routine that is hard but reasonable and also balanced, because you don't want to just be doing everything that absolutely nukes your central nervous system to where you have no capacity or ability to operate on a higher level for the rest of that workout. Or with back-to-back workouts, you want to make sure these are utilizing DUP, daily underlying periodization. We are periodizing those strengths and sets and planes of movement to make sure you can get better results without really making things unnecessarily complicated. It's very common for new lifters to want to always be doing different movements, always changing things up, being really unnecessary with their training in that regard. But there is a balance to where it can be familiar and you can build strength and focus within it without it being just something that varies all the time. So a little bit vaguer, but I can't just critique a PPL. Like PPL is push-pull legs. It's a great beginner's format, but there's so much that goes into it. The equipment you have available, the days you can train, the time you can train, your history, your background as an athlete, what it may be. Like all these things really do need to be taken into consideration. And that's why we're so confident we can help our clients put on so much new muscle, so much new strength, because we build that routine entirely around them.
Yeah, the other day I posted an Instagram story and I was wanting to share like the day 6 of our routine that Josh put together, and I was just like, okay, I was talking to the camera. I was like, there's a reason why we don't share exactly what we do, because a lot of times it's just people really, they struggle with this idea. They see this, oh, this is a workout that someone posted. This must work and this must be the way that it goes. And we're the first people to tell you that's not exactly the case. Like it really does have to be customized. So for me to share that day 6, which is absolutely killer and I love, it's like a full body day, which I know we talk a lot about how we don't love full body day splits, but it's an accessory day. It's awesome. I crushed it the other day, but I'm like really just talking about how it really has to be created for you. So I'd be doing a disservice by sharing, this is my routine. This is what I do. Like you have to try it. And it's not what we do, right? We take a look at your entire situation. And I find that like a lot of times if you're not someone who is following, so there's two issues within the workout side of things for a lot of people, right? The biggest one is just not following a program. And I see a lot of people, like I'd say most of them are just going in, doing whatever they can get access to, kind of just navigating whatever they feel like. I see some people come in, they start doing leg raises, and the next thing they're doing is, just a couple shoulder presses, and then they're the adductor machine. It's just a lot of randomness, and you can tell it's just whatever they're comfortable with and whatever they have access to. However, past that, the second common mistake, and probably something that's happening here, is just you are following something, but it's just not created for you. It's someone put together a good split. You can help you progress for a bit. It's a great starting place, but there's not much past that. And that's where so many people struggle within their journey. Is it's a templated routine. It was posted online. Someone really smart did put it together for you to try out that will get you some okay results for the first little bit. But then after that first little bit, it's like, what do we do next? And that's where, once again, not to just try to tell you, hey, you have to join here, because we really do believe when you come in and we take a full 360 look, we will absolutely transform you. And it makes such a big difference having a customized routine. But past that, we do have a full episode. It's episode 608, talking about the worst gym mistakes killing your progress. So even if someone is following a structured routine, it is pretty crazy how you can still just not get the best results because of a number of different things. It's just simply socializing too much, not really pushing the intensity, not actually utilizing the RIR, like reps in reserve. So if we say, hey, you have to be at 2 reps in reserve for every set, which is pushing close to failure, but you're not actually doing that, and you're always at 8 reps in reserve, and you're just not challenging yourself, you just won't see that progress that you should be seeing. And there's a whole list of different things, such as just being inconsistent, being on your phone too much, just not upping your weights, doing too many classes and too much strength training. So I will put that down below in the show notes if you want to listen to that episode. And I think that'll also be a good reminder, if you are following a structured routine, as to other reasons why you may not be succeeding.
Last but not least, what is the CICO diet? So CICO is a fancy abbreviation of saying calories in, calories out. And you'll hear this term a lot when it comes to losing weight. People will say, if you want to lose weight, it's calories in, calories out. And yes, this is entirely true. Yes, it's a simplification. There's a lot that goes into it, but the reality is this is how it works. If you burn more calories than you consume and your body utilizes, you will lose fat. On the flip side, if you consume more calories than your body needs or uses, you will put on fat, muscle, size, whatever it may be. And as much as it's tempting to glorify taking the right supplements, doing the right amount of cardio, Kyle could run a marathon a day, but if he eats in a surplus of calories after that marathon, and once again, there's thermic effects, there's all these different things, but quite simply, it's a very easy way to look at your journey. And that's why even within our coaching, we'll look at what our clients consuming calorie-wise, we'll try and regulate that output the best we can, and we'll get an idea of what their baseline is to make sure that we are really having a consistent trajectory of weight loss. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I just want to say, no matter what diet that it is that you choose, this will be the thing that's going to really help you progress. And for those people who say, hey, fasting is what's for me and it's what's been helping me out, you're utilizing that approach where you're just consuming less calories than you're burning. And that really is ultimately the main solution. If there's any diet out there that just doesn't get you to follow this simple principle, which I know it is can be quite a bit more complex, of course, but it is truthfully quite simple, then you're just not going to see the results you're striving for, especially if you are trying to lose weight. If you start to follow some sort of diet, I'm just picking on keto here, and you are not in a deficit and you're eating more calories than you're burning, you will not lose weight. There's no matter what, the science shows that this is what is going to help you push to that next level and really help you start to see results. And one other thing I want to mention, so in terms of calories in versus calories out, monitoring your intake, yes, there are a lot of variables, and we're not going to jump into this right now. A lot of times people are inaccurate, but it really is quite simple. You use measuring cups, you use a food scale, use a tracking system in terms of, let's say MyFitnessPal, and then we put things into our spreadsheet for our clients. Now, when it comes to calories burned, it can be more challenging. I know a lot of times people struggle with this because they overestimate how many calories they burn. Especially it has been proven, let's say, here I'm wearing a fancy Apple Watch, they can overestimate your calories burned by anywhere between, I think, 20 and 93%. I know that's very much on the high end, but it's something that was shown not too long ago. So a lot of times people think they're burning more calories because they're looking at these things. And I just want to let you know, like, if you are trying to figure out how many calories you burn and trying to keep track of that, you might kind of be wasting your time, because it really comes with trial and error. And to be honest, like, I know roughly and I can put into a calculator, but a lot of it is trial and error. So if I can focus on eating the right amount of food, and that's like the main thing I can like control as much as possible, then I keep a track of what my weight's doing, how much I'm losing per week. Then I can figure out from there how many, steps to get, and I can kind of figure out a formula based off of trial and error. But really, ultimately, because we get asked this quite often, like, how do I know how many calories I'm burning? You won't perfectly know, and each day will vary. But if you can keep track of the most important thing that you can, keep a record of, which is your food, then you can kind of have that as a baseline and go from there. So just want to share that because I know it's an important question people ask. And that was a great one, and hopefully that helps you.
So thanks for tuning in for today's fantastic episode. If you're ready to take part of the challenge, I know you are, you deserve this. Patch that hole in your game. Let's get you to the next level. DM us on Instagram. Our Instagram is @ColossusFit with the keyword challenge to take part. And I'm excited to level up together. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you in the next episode. Peace out.